Nice. Cool. All right.
All right.
Hit the
All
big
right.
old boop.
All right.
Your
Welcome
mic's not on.
back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
There you go.
Welcome back to Exasperated. Oh my gosh. Y'all know I still can't get this together. I can't get my life together. I can't get this together. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Welcome back to Exasperated. My name is Yasmin.
I'm Yvain.
And today we are talking about, we are saying part 3 of Children of Blood and Bone.
Which goes from pages...
Child.
God, 260.
Yeah, to 388.
388.
I think.
I think so, because I have my marking for the next... Yep, 388.
388.
Which this part of the book was relatively, I guess... Yeah, interesting, because we've reached a part of the book to where everything is going good, but everything is going too good.
Yeah, it's like if y'all ever watch a good drama series, like I like A Million Little Things. I like This Is Us when it's on, or right now it's Sweet Magnolia and Virgin River. Whenever it gets too good, you go, something got to go wrong. So it's like everything is too quiet, everything is too good. People too happy. Something gotta go wrong. It's about to go terribly wrong.
And if you've read this book already, since we have already too, we know exactly what's about to happen.
Yeah, all hell's gonna break loose.
But I do appreciate how the author did kind of sort of include this downtime, because it's in this downtime that we get a lot more character development. And we also see some relationships change in ways that was kind of expected, but at the same time wasn't expected.
Yeah.
Like Anan and Zaylee's relationship.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie. The first time I read this book, I really and truly was not expecting their relationship to pivot to more of a positive way. And I'm being ambiguous because, again, I'm trying hard not to spoil.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting that. Like, I really thought that, yes, even though we see at this point how conflicted Anan was about everything going on, I didn't think that they would be on such good terms. I really thought that they would have come to like this kind of peace, but not like peace, I could trust you and falling asleep around you, but peace as in like, okay, right now you're not trying to kill me, I'm not trying to kill you, but that doesn't mean we're going to hold hands and be like, okay, everything is fine. But I do like this downtime because it does give us as the reader and the characters, if they were real, this time to kind of sort of understand each other more and learn more about the world, really and truly.
Yeah. And it gives us an opportunity. I feel like you just said that and I zoned out. It gives us an opportunity to figure out who these characters are outside of, okay, the world is we're supposed to be changing the world, but who they are now as this is our downtime, we can breathe, and what their characteristics during these moments. So I feel like you said that and I zoned out, but
you expanded upon it, which is always good. It's always good.
So let's get into it. Let's get into really, okay. The meat and potatoes of this is basically world building.
Yeah.
And this whole book's premise, yes, she is a young heroine who is trying to bring back magic, but the premise of what's happening and why this whole book is even here, or why she's even trying to bring back magic, is because of fear.
Yeah. And it's ironically, like that was a nice segue. That was a nice segue.
You know, I didn't.
You caught me off guard with that.
You know, I try.
But you are right in that it is fear.
Yeah.
And in Zaylee's case, I believe it's more of that. Okay, well, let me say this. It's less fear because I think Zaylee's fear lies somewhere else, but it's more like, okay, this will even the playing field.
Yeah.
Which is funny because the fear of the nobility and non-magic wielders that is their exact fear.
Yeah.
Getting the Magi having magic back will even the playing field. Before, it was easy to keep them in line. It was easy to keep them in check because they didn't have magic. And let's be honest, years of oppression, not that I have experienced it, but what I have read in both history, years of oppression wears down on the human will to rebel.
I mean, it's like the elephant tied to a post type. I mean, if I remember correctly, when you tie, the whole premise is you tie this elephant to a post as a baby, and it grows up always thinking that it's in bondage, but by the time the elephant becomes a grown adult, it can just walk away and pull the post with it. You know, so it's, and it is kind of that premise, whereas we're keeping you bound, we're keeping you oppressed so that you don't rebel, so that I can still wield my power over you. And I fear the day that you get power back, because then you're going to retaliate and do things. And I think if now that I'm talking, I think their fear is you're going to do to me what I did to you. Because with magic, the Magi were more powerful than people who weren't.
Right.
But the thing about history is that those who want to rewrite it rewrites history in a way to make the oppressors, or those who are there oppressing, or they have rewritten history to make it seem like magic was a bad thing. And when in reality, nowhere when Zélie recounts about her mom and about magic does she recount anybody saying we're trying to take over the Capitol. It might have been a handful of people who had done what they did to the king
and his first
family, but that wasn't all of the Magi. That was just a handful. And so what happens when we generalize and we group people together is that same exact thing, is that, okay, this hand group of people is bad, then all of people who wield magic is bad. And since I can't control them, the way to control them is to take away their magic. And now I put this whole instill fear in the nobility and say, you don't want their magic to come back because they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're rowdy, they can't be trusted. And instill this fear of, if magic comes back, then best to believe that they're going to try to enslave you because they're going to be much stronger than you. So that was a lot of words.
No, you're good. And we kind of sort of see this also with Anan's initial fear, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to make sure I'm recounting properly.
Yeah.
To whereas that all his life, his father has instilled within him that magic equals bad.
Yep.
Magic brings destruction.
Yep.
Magic separates families, and it kills, and there's nothing good about magic.
Yep.
But as Anan begins to interact with Zélie from a non-combative perspective, and I don't think it's a large spoiler, as they enter into this camp of Magi's that they've been living under the radar, and some of them has had their magic awakened, because, spoiler alert, it has been awakened before. I won't specify how, so that's not really much of a spoiler alert. But we kind of sort of see this change in Anan to where he's like, I think at one point he even says that, you know what, the teachings that his father was telling him was wrong. Magic in itself is not evil.
Yeah.
And I will tack on, maybe the people who wield magic or have the capacity to wield magic use it to do evil things, but magic in itself is not evil. And we kind of sort of see Amari come to the same conclusion.
But she comes to the conclusion way before this story occurs. Right? Because Binta, her handmaiden, was basically was more than her best friend. That was like
a mother,
a mom to her. That was like her sister. Because in the I want to say White House, and that's not what it is.
In the castle.
In the Capitol, in the castle, her only ally wasn't even her brother. Her only ally was Binta. And so she knew Binta could at one point have wielded magic, but how could Binta hurt her? Binta wasn't Binta would never have, if she ever had magic, Binta would never have used her magic to hurt her. So not when her father neglects her, her mother berates her, and her brother almost killed her when she was a child. The people who are evil to her are those in the nobility, not Binta, not somebody who could possibly wield magic. And when she sees Binta's magic for the first time, she thinks it's the most beautiful thing she has ever seen. So she comes to that conclusion very quickly before Anan, whereas Anan, I think Anan had to, because he is the protagonist, he had to come to that conclusion for his own self, and he came to that much later. Sorry, not protagonist, antagonist. Because he is the antagonist in this case, he had to come to that conclusion a lot later than when Amari comes to that conclusion. But it's funny how, with all this fear that his father instills with him, when he gets his own magic, he's afraid of his own self. Like, he thinks magic is a disease. He thinks it's all Zaylee's fault. She's the reason why he has magic. I'm like, sir, I don't think that's the case, but continue with your delusion.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
it's not the case. Like, Zaylee didn't like touch you and rubbed her magic on you. Like, it's not the chicken pox.
It's not the case of a cooties.
It's not the cooties. Like, it's literally, there has to be something in your blood that you had. And so we see how at this point, when he gets to this point, he's no longer afraid of his magic. He keeps suppressing it, but he's not afraid of his magic because he sees it through this whole different lens.
And the funny thing is that he's no longer afraid of his magic, but I think, like what you said, he's more afraid of what he can do with his magic.
Yeah, which doesn't help. Which don't help at all.
Because, again, not trying to spoil anything, but we kind of sort of see Anand's mental state being like, okay, he starts to view magic until he really meets Zaylee, and in a way, Zaylee helps him to come to terms with his magic. Is like, okay, I can't be trusted with even my own self having these abilities. Yeah. Because me using this ability caused the suffering of someone who was close to me. Not only was close to me, but also someone who my father has loved. And now before, whereas that I could have told my father I had magic, and maybe, just maybe, he would have spared me.
Can we stick a pin in that? That man knew his father was gonna kill him. This is, and we got 7 minutes to argue about this. I truly and honestly believe that Anan is delusional, and he knows within himself. Sure he knows within himself, if he had ever told his father that he has magic, his father would cut his head off. But he's saying to himself, and I could see where you're going, where he's like, at some point, I would have told them I'm magical and I could use this to help the kingdom. Surprise, surprise, surprise. I have magic. But when this event happens it's not Chernobyl, at the temple, I'm telling you.
Your world of fantasy is mixed up today. It's mixed. It's okay.
When he uses his magic and it gets out of hand, and a person who his father is really close to dies because of it, that goes out the window. But he knew that in the depths of his soul, he knew that his father was never going to accept him. If he had told Amari that he had magic, Amari would have accepted him. And also Amari would have said, hide from dad, because he is going to kill you. That man is never going to accept him.
But I think what would have happened is, and this is looking back, I wouldn't have said this if I only read this book, but after reading book 1 and 2, I think what would have happened, the mom most definitely would have pleaded to spare his life, or if not, get him out the palace.
I could see that. I could see that even without reading the second book, because the mom favors Anan, and she could only talk about Amari. Don't eat that. Don't do this. Don't do that. she doesn't really favor Amari. Oh, like I said, Amari's only friend in that thing was Binta, and Binta died. So her leaving to bring that magic back makes perfect sense. Like, it just makes perfect sense.
But a part of me really does believe that what Anan was telling himself had a ring of truth. Because I really do believe that, yes, the king, he hated magic, and it's arguable to say if he loved his son. But I think the term Orisha over self, okay, I could see him killing him and trying to raise up another heir.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could also see the king being like, you know what, Orisha over self. We just can't let nobody in the nobility know that he has magic, because he is the future king.
I don't see it. I can see
a world. It's a very slim. It's very slim. It is very slim. It's like a 0.2% chance. But if the stars was to align and if everything was to go right, I could see Anan more or less becoming more of like a figurehead. Like the king wouldn't have handed over full rule, but Anan would have became a figurehead, and then the king would have figured out how to raise somebody else, so his line would have stayed.
Or at that point, he would have, because even though Amari wasn't being trained to be the next ruler, Amari would have been the next ruler, because at that point she does not have magic. And so even though to be honest, when he says, I can see where you're going. He says Orisha over self. Okay, he'll be a figurehead. That man doesn't want magic back. Period.
Yeah.
Period. And when we talk about racism, and when we talk about these, because that's basically what it is. When we talk about racism, this is also about lineage and line. So if his son has magic, then it's a possibility that his grandson will have magic.
Somebody else in the line.
And so when we talk about, he wants to purge magic completely, not just like, my son can have it, but an absolute purge. So he would have killed his son. He would have killed his son to make sure the line was clean.
But also, then he would have to produce another child.
He would have either had to produce another child or Amari.
Because if it ever got out that Amari helped bring back magic, he'd have to kill her too. Nobody, his line would have literally ended.
And to be honest, I could see the man doing both. He's an evil dude. Let it be clear. Let it be clear in my last couple seconds. Let it be clear that the king is an evil man. That man is evil. He would have killed his own son. He would have killed his own daughter and found a way to live forever if he could. That's just who he is. And it's because of this fear. It's because of the whole thing about the fear of magic, the fear of people who would be stronger than he is, and equalizing the playing field. And we see that not just in this book, but in reality. I mean, come on. All of this thing that is happening right now is because there are a group of people who is afraid that this other group of people and to equalize the playing field. Look at this.
You can't see it because the cameras is there, but it's 2:07. We don't have enough hours in the day to cover that.
We don't.
And for once, we will use our platform for good, but not today. We don't have enough hours in the day to cover that.
We don't.
And for once, we will use our platform for good, but not today. we will, but not today. I think it'd be better if we have an episode where we kind of sort of juxtapose. Parallel.
Yeah, juxtapose.
Parallel.
Yeah.
Where did I put it? Oh, shoot. Here it is. This with what's happening in current events. But you are right. And I think you said this quote, and we're ending because I'm pretty sure that camera's dead.
Yeah.
And I just saw yours reset. So we're coming to the end now, but I believe you said you made a quote. I believe it was either in the first episode or introductory episode, and you say it all the time. People who don't have power love to flex like they do.
Yeah,
and those who have power don't flex the fact that they have it.
Exactly.
We see it here, even though technically the king does have power, but he does not have magic. So that's why, again, the fear and oppression. And we see it in current times, and I'm not going to get into it because that's a lot to talk about. I'm not going to touch that. We only got 51 seconds. I got to wrap this up. But we even see it in current times to where people who supposedly don't have power, quote unquote, and that if you get in it, you get in it. If you don't get it, it's okay. But if you get it, you get it. People who don't have power is flexing as if they do, versus the people who have power is kind of like, okay, they don't have to strut or show off that they have power, because if you have it, you're not going to be like, I got it.
Yeah, and if you there's no reason for you to show off with it anyway, because you have what they don't have, and people who pretend that they have power, or they perceive power, or they think they have power when they do not. They always want to exert power. Whereas people who have power, who have authority, are chill. They exert their authority when they need to, but they never have to flex and pretend and be perceived as they have authority.
Or force their authority onto others.
Yeah, or force their authority onto others.
We're not touching that. We haven't. Look, I think that will be a good topic when and if we get to the second book. I say if because we may end up I know the plan was to do all 3 books, but we may end up doing the first book and then just moving on to Legendborn. Yeah. Because that's another one. That's another book. But this has been Exasperated. I'm Yvain.
I'm Yasmin.
And we will see you guys later. I'm pretty sure we only have one camera working right now, so she's Yasmin.